Welcome to Wisdom Talk Radio, a collaborative community of explorers in conscious living. Welcome to today's episode of Wisdom Talk Radio. This is the place where we get to explore the depths of conscious living and what it means to live an expanded life. Join us to be inspired, encouraged, maybe transformed, and to tap into a deeper sense of joy and possibility. Sometimes a shift in perspective unlocks possibilities that we had not even considered. Sometimes it turns everything on its head. That's not always comfortable, but sometimes that's what's needed. And without that step of that shift, the movement that we long for might not be able to happen. In your own life, you may know that something needs to shift, or to change, but you don't even know what it is. Maybe what you need is a perspective shifter. That's how my guest today has been described, so stay tuned. I'm Laurie Seymour, host of Wisdom Talk Radio and CEO and founder of the Baca Institute, home of the Quantum Connection Process. You can go to the Baca Institute to discover your unique connection with the essence of who you are by taking the Quantum Connection quiz. And why do I call it Quantum Connection? That's a little, it sounds maybe a little daunting. It's that each of us are designed to directly connect with source, with the universe in our own unique way, in our own special way. And knowing what your archetype style is offers and opens a deeper connection for you with the universe. No small potatoes, because it's really the secret to creating what you want in your life. Who you are. This is why I do it. This is why all of this is here, because who you are is exactly who is needed. So my guest today is Laura Ballerini. She is a seasoned graphic designer who has been running her own creative firm for over 25 years. And I love this piece. She started her creative journey with the advertising department of the Calgary Herald during the heyday of newspapers. Now, just that phrase alone made me go, wait a minute, right, we are not in that heyday anymore. And oh my goodness, that there's something about that hit me. While she says she's a quiet and introverted creative, she recently found her inner badass and radiates a quietly fierce disposition, coming to the table with eyes wide open. As author of The Green Velvet Chair, Sometimes Inspiration Comes from the Most Unlikely Places, Laura gathered a collection of heartfelt stories depicting how inspiration can come from the most unlikely places. Welcome, Laura, to Wisdom Talk Radio. I'm really excited and looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Laurie. I'm really excited too. I love what you talk about, and I've seen your interviews, and they're fantastic. So I'm very excited to be here.
And now you're one of them. So I need to ask this before we do anything else. What does coming to the table with eyes wide open mean?
Great question. I've kind of developed that through the years in my work because I very consciously work with clients from various industries and various sectors, and I do that on purpose. I don't work with one niche industry. Mm-hmm. I like to work with different companies, different products, different services, different whatever they're doing. So it's really important for me to come to the table when I meet a new client with eyes wide open. It's like I'm kind of like a kid at a candy store going, okay, what is it that you do? And really eyes wide open and really listening for maybe what's not being said. So really coming to the table, just, fresh and kind of seeing things very, very open, mm-hmm. and really trying to learn from the client what they do, what makes them different, and really digesting that so that I can hear maybe what they're not saying and really what makes them unique
Hmm.
and special in the marketplace. So coming to the table with eyes wide open is something that's really important to me as a designer.
Yeah, and so not having preconceived notions, oh, you work in this field, that means that you need this. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, that wouldn't be you.
No, and I think it would be kind of boring too. And I think I would also be bringing the same solutions,
Hmm.
maybe with a different twist, to all my clients. And I don't want that. I really want to be inventive and creative and really listen to what their issues are, what problems they're solving so that I can help them creatively tell those stories to
Hmm.
their audience.
Hmm. Well, so tell me about that a little, about that telling one story to the marketplace, telling one story to one's prospective clientele. Um, what's the value of that? What's the importance of that?
Yeah, I found storytelling has always resonated with people, right from in Adele Fedora's words, sitting around a campfire and telling stories as cavemen. They were telling stories at that point, and I'm stealing that from Adele. But today, business storytelling is really resonating with the audience, with people, because we all can relate to a story. So again, I'm going to steal this from someone else who came up with this tagline, but it was a safety company who developed safety products. So their tagline was not, we sell a variety of safety products. It was, everybody goes home safely at the end of the day. There's a
Ooh,
different shift, right? And that's
yeah,
not mine. I'm not taking credit for that, but that really resonated with me as a tagline to go, they're talking about the benefit of what they do. They're
right.
not talking about the products that they sell. They're saying the benefit is everyone goes home safely at the end of the day. That to me was a very powerful tagline. And that's where I want to shift when I'm working with my clients to go, okay, whatever, we do seismic exploration. Well, that's not very compelling, but
Right.
telling maybe what the benefit is to that story.
Ah, so if we do that for you, if we create the story, what is maybe I'm sure you already have a tagline, but in this moment, what is the value of learning how to tell your own story? Not in terms of business, but in a bigger sense. How do you share um, what
Yeah,
is most compelling and transformative in the world for you?
yes. For me, I think what's happening is people aren't hiring my company, Blue Brown. They're hiring me. They know me, they trust me, they know my experience. They've probably read reviews. Behavioral patterns have really changed. Nobody buys unless they read a review. So they're reading testimonials, reviews. They're hiring me as a designer, not necessarily my company. So I think that's really shifted. But for me, my tagline 26 years ago was, we make every pixel count. What that really says is we don't do lipstick. We can make things look.
Ah,
I don't want to make things look pretty. I want to make things that evoke an action. So whether it's go to my website, fill out my contact form, set up an appointment on Calendly, whatever that is, that's what I want my design to do, is evoke an action. So making things look pretty, mm, nobody really wants to pay for that.
hmm
Um,
hmm
so it's really making each pixel count. However, today I'm actually giving a workshop and I've put a twist on that a little bit, making every minute count. With time being of the essence today,
hmm
every minute does count. And I've just found I'm using both kind of intertwined, but
hmm
I'm finding that making every minute count when we talk about our business, talk about ourselves. We don't normally have an hour to talk about who we are and what we do. We have a limited amount of time. So
hmm
telling those stories quickly, succinctly, but capturing an emotion, I think is what really lands with people. I know that's what lands with people. I can see people light up when you say something that really evokes an emotion or a feeling. Through my design, I create feelings.
Oh, and a feeling that compels someone to take an action.
Exactly. Exactly. So
There's
depending
something
on
about that action piece that feels really key.
exactly. For example, I'm going to talk specifically about some of the clients I work with because it helps me clarify things a little bit
Mhm.
more. But for example, I worked for a variety, everything from oil and gas to I worked with recently with a custom manufacturing mattress company. So they manufacture mattresses. I
Mhm.
did a slider for their website. There's no mattresses in sight, but what you see is somebody putting their hand up with the peace sign going, from the covers going, I had a great night's sleep, showing the benefit of a great custom built mattress,
Mhm.
not the mattress itself. So really flipping it to go, let's talk about the benefits of what you guys do as a company and
Mhm.
how that custom mattress is making we all need a good night's sleep, how that makes a difference in the world. So flipping it, right?
Like you flip your mattress.
Exactly.
Huh. So then what inspired you? Why did you want to write your book, The Green Velvet Chair?
Again, it was from Adele Fedoric. She had
And
started a
she's been on the
workshop.
show, so she's
Yeah, she
amazing.
is.
So search out her interview for anybody that gets intrigued. But go
Yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, she was instrumental in me learning how to articulate. I have been in the business a long time. I am a quiet, shy introvert, and I thought I need to learn how to speak. I need how to be more articulate when I'm presenting my designs. So she was offering a workshop on storytelling, but in an oral manner, not in writing. But through that, I signed up for, I think, about three different workshops. I loved working with her. I think she's highly intuitive. And I learned how to tell stories orally. And then I started
Mhm.
writing them down because she goes, you can make people laugh and you can make people, you're a good storyteller, Laura, which I never saw.
Yeah.
So I started writing down the stories, and then she introduced me to Kathy Sparrow, who is my editor, who I love, as you know.
Mhm.
She's a great lady, and she really guided me through the process of putting these short essays into a book. And it really is about, I wrote about what I knew, and it was about art and design in everyday life, and really finding inspiration. And it's not always obvious where that inspiration is coming from. So the Green Velvet Chair is actually a story in itself of how um, inspiration comes from the most unlikely places.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, what does that mean? For first of all, let me ask you what you mean by inspiration, because it, people get people get both intrigued and almost, I think, threatened by the idea of inspiration. Like, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm not inspired, or I'm not an inspired person, or what happens when inspiration dies? Not recognizing that they indeed can stay connected to that energy, that essence of vibrate of inspiration, and thinking that it's something so special that only a select few can be inspired.
And I think that is demystified. And again, I learned that through Adele. She talked about capturing story moments. A story moment is not the big light that goes off in your head and going, wow, I have an idea, I'm inspired. It's
Hmm.
the little moments of, for me, it was, I walked into my living room one day and I saw the green velvet chair in my living room and I thought, oh my gosh, my mom picked that up from a farmer's field decades ago when we were kids. She saw something in it. It was it was deplorable. It had good bones, but she saw the good bones, but she took it from a farmer's field,
Hmm.
stripped it down to the horsehair stuffing and the springs, retied everything, took an upholstery course, reupholstered it in this beautiful, deep, rich green velvet, and it sat it sits in my living room now, and I go, that's my inspiration. Like I didn't see it, and I didn't see it decades ago, but she had a vision, and to me, it talked about vision. It's like she never shared the vision, but now I
Hmm.
see her vision. But it took me decades. So to me, that was inspiration, and that's just probably a small story moment that was like, wow, there's something captured there that I need to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then how do you build on that? How do you extend that moment into something that's a little longer and a little longer still until you have a full story or a full book?
That's where my friend loved my book and she says, I'm going to start writing. And she goes, today I opened up Word and I wrote chapter one. And I said, don't start with that. Just start writing. Just start writing from that story moment. And honestly, intuition takes over and the keyboard just starts going and you start writing. And many say that first draft is garbage,
Mhm.
and it usually is, but you just keep writing. Just like for me, I've been designing for decades. I just keep designing and I get, oddly enough, simpler, simpler, simpler. It's kind of like my writing. I just keep editing, editing. Don't need that word. Don't need that word. What's the crux of what I'm trying to say? So it's
Mhm.
just keep
Mhm.
paring away, but you have to start with that first word. And it's not necessarily chapter one. It's just start writing from that story moment. For me, that's what really moved me was the story moment isn't some big and I don't wake up in the middle of the night and go, wow, I have an idea. It's like, something, a memory may trigger you. I had a memory from high school that triggered me, and I realized that's a story about branding. That's about personal branding. So I wrote a story
Mm.
about that. But it started with me having my feelings hurt being, a chubby, shy girl in high school. And it evolved into a beautiful story, I believe, about branding.
Wow. Wow. So the fact that I love the whole idea of start and just keep going. And don't let the idea of what you think it should be or how it should work or it being chapter one or what's going to be chapter two, how to let that unfold. So that sense of keep going, but keep connected at the same time.
Yeah, except sometimes you're more connected than others. Some people say they write 15 minutes every day. Sometimes I don't have the time to write. And sometimes I can only write 5 minutes at a time and it's not coming, it's not downloading, I'm not feeling it. And
Hmm.
then I'll write, 3 pages the next day. So,
Yeah.
yes, keep going, but also listen to your heart and go, it's just not, I'm refocused on something else and this story is not downloading. So it's really listening to your heart and your mind and going,
Hmm.
sometimes they're not connecting. So it's time
Hmm.
to take a break.
Yeah.
And that's honestly how I design too. I never do a design in one sitting. I'll start a design,
Oh.
I'll walk away, I'll do something else, I'll come back and go, oh, that sucks. And I might be stripping things off, moving things around. So it takes me several sittings before I actually finish a design. It's coming to the table, coming to the computer with fresh eyes and going, something's not working here. Something
Hmm.
needs to be finessed. Something's not real as clear as it should be. So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think it's several sittings and those edits, whether it's words or graphics, it's kind of tweaking all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So can you extend that into life and how we're inspired by life and sometimes need to cut and pare? I mean, sometimes that's part of the creative process too.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, life, we all have had challenges, and when I actually wrote the book and launched it 3.5 years ago,
Mhm.
and that's actually where I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So since then, I kind of orphaned the book, and I have a cat with Kathy's encouragement. I did a second edition this year and relaunched it. So
Mhm.
I wrote some new chapters and fleshed it out a little bit more and did a new epilogue and a new intro to why there's been this delay. So I told my story about having cancer and life surprises you. But what it did for me is it helped me be that perspective shifter and go, okay, this is a wake up call. I need to eat better. I need to get more rest. I need to manage stress. And of
Mhm.
course, that's not always the answer to cancer. It's just, sometimes it just happens. But it was a wake up call for me to shift my perspective on how I can move ahead and be
Mhm.
positive. So for me, it was a real shift in life. And again, it was coming to the table with fresh eyes, and
Mhm.
going, wow, this is not the best thing that could have happened to anybody, but wow, the nurses in the hospital are amazing. My husband has been by my side every step of the way. Like it reaffirms so many things. Like, let's look at the positive side here and really shift that perspective. It's not a pleasant thing to go through, but I think if you can shift this perspective and go, wow, in many ways, it opened my eyes to a whole new world and a whole new set of
Mhm.
empathy that I have for people with challenges. We all have challenges of various kinds, and it really helped me shift perspective and help people hopefully shift perspective in their own way and
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
see the world through those eyes wide open.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't have seen those things without your eyes being wide open. because we
Yes.
get locked into a particular way of seeing something or feeling about something. It's as if, well, that is all there is then, because we've created what we expect to see.
Yes. Having said that, though, I have always been very intuitive, but I have to say, going through that just sharpens your intuition. You feel
Mm.
deeper, you think deeper, you see things. And I like to say, come to the table with eyes wide open, but I often see things clearly when my eyes are shut, you know? So it's been a really interesting journey and a journey I'm very proud to have gone through because I think it's made me a better person, a better designer,
Mhm.
and honestly, a better writer. I've learned to design with words.
Well, that brings me to another piece around beauty. I mean, art, design, beauty. I once did interview somebody. I think she's a clothing designer, clothing space designer. Um, so different product than what you're working with, but yet that sense of the way in which beauty sustains us, design sustains us, and infuses us with something that could shift our perspective.
Yes, very much. Yeah, and then beauty changes, I think, too, as you get older. I look at my mom. My mom passed away 21 years ago now, but I remember her. She got older and she was sick. She had COPD. So it was a long, kind of slow suffering,
Mhm.
for many years. But in her hospital bed. She had a hospital bed in her living room. And you know what? She got more beautiful as she aged and she went through this. And she never was the type to say, I love you. But in the end, she was going, we'd leave and she goes, I love you. And it changes. Beauty shifts, right? It's like it's not physical, it changes and then it becomes spiritual and very heartfelt. So for me, I don't,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm surprised I'm telling that story because it kind of brings tears to my eyes.
Mhm.
But it's how beauty shifts and transforms in different ways.
Mm. That's it's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that too, because it does it does matter. It does matter. Because again, how we prospectively see something, how is creating it, and our own capacity to be aware of a larger picture, to in a moment perhaps shift the way we see something, opens up all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah, yes, very much.
So, in terms of creativity in business, because that's really what you're doing, not only are you in a creative field, your business is a creative entity, but you are bringing creativity into places like mattress companies or excavation companies. I mean, places where oil and gas, where you don't ordinarily think of those things side by side or in any way intertwined.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I love the diversity of my clientele because I do really get to, I come in, I don't do typically a lot of research on their industry. I like to come in and have them
Mhm.
tell me what you're about. And it takes a while for the passion to be unfolded, to be honest. Ideally, we like to do a discovery session. Could be 2 to 4 hours where we're meeting with the client, stakeholders in the room, and we're digging deep. It's like, okay, well, okay, that's really interesting that you do seismic exploration, but what's the crux of it? What are you really here for? And these guys are really creative.
Mhm.
Geophysicists are very, and that's what I found through in my travels and my journey through life is everyone is creative in their own way. So these geophysicists, they're scientists, but they're really creative in how they look at seismic data. And you see it on the screen and going, wow, they're digging, and it's like it just looks like beautiful colors, but it's like
Mhm.
there's messages in there. There's pockets of oil and gas, and not just that. They also their spin too is that they are a sustainable industry because they're also helping to uncover minerals to build
Mhm. Mhm.
batteries and stuff for EVs and all that. So they are even changing their story. But it takes a while to actually uncover all the passion that's really beneath that. Why did you become a geophysicist? What's so exciting about that? How did we spin this in, and spinning is the wrong word, but how do we tell this story
Hmm.
in a compelling way so that when you're talking to a potential client, it's like, wow, you're so much more than a geophysicist,
Yeah.
right?
And you're
That's
so
what I
much more than
really,
just a dirt digger.
yes, that's really what I want to unfold is
Hmm.
what makes you stand out in the marketplace and what makes you different. And those stories that come out are so inspiring, and that inspires me as a designer.
Hmm. So do you feel like in that process of doing that kind of digging and that unfolding, that they recognize their own creativity?
Yes, yes. I work with a marketing person. I'm a designer. I know a little bit about marketing, but she is the full-fledged marketing person.
Hmm.
And she says that the benefits to a discovery session is not only for us to uncover what we need to learn,
Hmm.
but also many times a client will go, "Oh, I never thought of it that way," or "No one's ever asked me that question." So there it's opening up their world and their thoughts as well into how are we making a difference in the
Hmm.
world and how do we deal with our competitors and all the how are we talking about sustainability in a world where oil and gas may not necessarily be a good thing to some people. So, how are we telling those stories in a world that's shifting and the values are shifting and we want to become relevant and retain our relevance in the world?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's a bit of a dance.
Yeah, and I'm feeling like you, in some ways, create some kind of magic within them for an appreciation, a different appreciation for what it is they're doing. I mean, you shift it from, well, there's the bottom line, of course, why are they hiring you? It is to impact the bottom line, but there's so much more than that that you're being invited into and that you're evoking within them.
Exactly. And that's what I find is kind of a benefit to me being a shy, quiet introvert. Is I've learned I'm a really good listener. So I'm coming to the table with eyes wide open, but I've also got, I'm listening with my ears. What's not being said? What did you mean by that? Can we dig deeper? So almost like a therapist in a way where you want to
Hmm.
dig deep, find out what are the issues here and listening to what's potentially not being said or
Hmm.
where do we need to, that's an interesting point you just made.
Yeah, yeah,
Can
yeah,
we
yeah.
can we build on that? So that kind of stuff is I think imperative, and it's made me better as I get older. I've become more seasoned, and I've learned to listen to what's not being said, and that's part of that perspective shift that
Hmm.
really helps me.
It helps you help them.
Yes, and it helps me when I'm sitting down with my designs and I'm either going through the recording or going through my notes to go, okay, they said this and this and this, and then I've got a puzzle that I've got to fit together. It's a
Hmm.
puzzle. And again, it's putting all the pieces up and then seeing what you're stripping off the wall because not everything's going to fit. So it's
Hmm.
how do I pare this down into a tangible story? My big thing right now is simplicity, clarity, and impact because there's a lot of great designers out there, which
Hmm.
is fantastic. But for me, through the years, I've come to realize we don't need lipstick, we don't need fancy design, we need clarity so
Hmm.
that in, it's more than a 30-second elevator pitch, but maybe it is that 5 minutes. If you give me 5 minutes, I can show you who we are, what we do, and how we make a difference in the world.
Hmm.
So paring it down into real simple clarity, but with impact. We don't want just to talk about bullets on a screen. That's boring and no
Right,
one's going to remember that.
right.
How can we visually merge imagery with strong words to tell a story? And people are just going to look at that slide and go, wow, I
Hmm.
get it. I get what you do.
Yeah.
That's not easy, but that's what I think the world needs to come to because it's a very complicated world. There's so many messages out there.
Hmm.
AI is blurring the lines. It's useful, but I think it's for us to take the AI, use our creativity to distill the messages so that
Hmm.
it's intelligent, it's clear, it's condensed, but it's also has some impact. I think
Hmm.
that's really critical.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else? I mean, I'd let you opened the door to that, to a conversation about AI, and maybe there's not a lot we're going to say about it right here, but if there's something that you feel moved to speak to in this ever-changing landscape.
Yeah, for me, AI, I mean, honestly, like I say, I've been in the industry for decades. 30 years ago, we were using AI. I was using a program called the Babelizer, if you can believe that. And if we were processing images for an online catalog, for example, we weren't doing it one by one. We were writing a script and going, I want it this size, I want it in RGB, I want it to be a GIF or a JPEG. You write a script for that, you put your photos in, and it does it in an hour as opposed to me sitting in a studio doing it one by one. So that's AI. So we've been using AI for many years. Now it's kind of come full throttle, but as a creative person, I like to think I don't use AI to design, I don't use it to write, but do I use it for analytics when I'm doing a Google ad and I can see, okay, who are people looking, which ad are they looking at? Might do some A/B testing. All that is AI. That's machine learning. And that's where I use it because I find that is such great data for me. Now you have to interpret the data, but it's good data for me to go, okay, which ad is working, which key messages are working, which keywords are people clicking on, for example. So the data that AI is generating in that aspect really helps me with my job and makes me a better designer.
Hmm.
I, as you say, I kind of grew up in the newspaper industry where we were doing coupons in print ads, and people were cutting out the coupon and mailing it to some marketing department somewhere where I don't know,
Right.
and analyzing where this coupon came from. But today, as a designer myself, I'm pretty much getting real-time analytics on how this ad is working, how this email is responding. You can look at the data, who opened it, who forwarded it, who deleted, who unsubscribed.
Hmm.
That is critical data, not only for a marketing department, but for a designer. Gives me pretty much real-time data to make me a better designer. That's how I see AI
Yeah.
in my world.
Yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for speaking about that because it's, when everybody's speaking about it.
Yes.
And it's a real not only question, but it's a real situation of how do we use it? How do we best use it? And that's going to continue to evolve. And not to either depend upon it and knowing that it cannot replace us in what we have, what we bring to the table.
Yes. And that's where I feel we can use AI as a tool to make us better, stronger, faster, better creative thinkers using our intuition, which I don't know if AI is ever going to get there.
Mhm.
Having the intuition and the creative thinking, I'm hoping we can utilize AI to make us better.
Great. Now, one more thing about you mentioned brand a few minutes ago, and you talk about that in your book. But talk about that a bit. What's the value or the importance of having a clear, compelling brand?
I'm actually going to tell you the story in the book. I'll do
Okay.
a condensed version, but I think that speaks to brand because most people think, oh, it's colors, it's fonts, it's logos. The story in the book talks about brand, but it talks about a high school story for me. I was, like I say, a shy, chubby, pimply faced girl in grade 12. I was not confident. I was a good student. I was smart, but I never dated. I never had any boyfriends. I was very studious. So at the 10-year reunion, I thought I'm going to go. I had learned to curl my hair. I learned to do makeup. I learned to dress my
You
chubby
discovered that
body.
you were beautiful. Okay.
Well, we all have that beauty, right? And it's just uncovering it, I guess. But anyway, I found out how to polish the outside a little bit.
Mhm.
So I went to my high school reunion, had a brand new dress on, nice shoes, did my hair, did my nails, did my makeup. And one of the popular boys at the time, he ran ahead of me as I entered the school and he opened the door for me to the school gymnasium and he goes, after you, my lady. And then I had my tag on. We had tags with our high school pictures. And he goes, after you, my lady. And then he looks at my tag and he goes, oh, you're Laura. He goes, I wouldn't have opened the door for you then, but I will open the door for you now.
Wow.
So it was supposed to be a compliment, I think, but it wasn't. But what it did for
Yeah.
me was it talked about brand. My personal brand had I learned to polish the outside, and it made me relate to the big shiny logo. Your brand is not your big shiny logo. I was the same person 10 years later, quite frankly, as I was in high school. I just learned how to shine the outside, put some polish to it. So the logo to me is not, or the brand is not the big shiny logo. It's not the slick graphics. It's not those cool videos. It's the values behind the logo, behind the social
Mm,
media campaigns. It's the people and it's the values and the ethics and the scruples and the quality behind all that.
mhm.
So it was a lesson to me. And again, I didn't know that story was going to evolve that way. I just had a story moment about, oh yeah, I remember the guy that opened the door for me. And then it evolved into this brand story. I didn't see that coming, but I just kept going, where's this going? Kept typing, and it was like, oh, there's something unveiled here. So, when people talk about the Green Velvet Chair and say, this isn't a business book, yeah, there's parables here that
Mhm,
are about business,
mhm.
right? Brand is not the shiny logo. We can polish the outside, it's the values beneath that shiny logo. And that's something that I hope really resonates with people because it's a simple story, but it's like, yeah, right. And ironically, after people read the book, people would email me and go, I didn't know you had problems in high school. I had those problems too. So it also became a universal story.
Right, right,
So
right. Wow.
anyway, that's how I see brand. I see brand as, yeah, we can make it look strong and bold, but if you have no, you know, values beneath that, you're not going to last.
Mhm. You need the strong and bold in your roots.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. How can people best find you? They say, okay, I don't know what this is, but I think that I need to talk to Laura and get her looking more deeply, helping me look more deeply at what I'm doing in the
Yeah.
world.
Yes, thank you. So my corporate website is actually named. This might help them people remember. My corporate website is Blue Brown Communications, but my website is bluebrown.com.
Okay.
There's no E in blue, so BLUBROWN.com. I named my company Blue Brown because I have two daughters. One has blue eyes, one has brown eyes. And when I started my company, I'd been in the industry a while, but I wanted to kind of reset and look through the world of design through the eyes of a child and always
Mm.
asking why. So it was really important for me to let's start fresh, let's reset, and so that's why I named it Blue Brown. So bluebrown.com is my corporate site. And I'm really proud of the work that I've done over these last 26 years and hope to continue for into the future.
And I can feel how lucky someone would be to have you by their side to create what they're wishing to create in the world.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura Ballerini, for what you're doing in the world because it feels we are impacted every day by people's brands, by the shiny logos, by design, and we don't realize what is behind that and what is underneath that and what could be underneath that, what could be behind that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you for being here today at Wisdom Talk Radio and for sharing what you shared. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's been really interesting and I enjoyed talking to you.
Mm. And thank you to our listeners, our viewers, for being with us today on Wisdom Talk Radio. And join us here regularly for more wisdom, discovery, and illumination. You can find us, we're all the different places where you think to find a podcast. I mean, whether it's Apple or Spotify and all the smaller platforms, we're there. So you can find us. And please do leave us a review because that helps more people discover not only Wisdom Talk Radio, but the kinds of things that we talk about here, the kinds of things that we try and share here to expand conscious living, to expand your own feeling of joy and connection and inspiration in the world. Um, for more about your own personal connection with this of what we're talking about with wisdom, with your own quantum connection, take the quantum connection quiz, and remember that you can pick up a copy of my new book. Well, by the time you hear this, it won't be so new anymore, but Unconditional Remembrance, Your Connection to Source. And you can find that wherever you buy your books. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us here at Wisdom Talk Radio.
We wish you well in your conscious explorations. For more information and to join in the conversation, our website is wisdomtalkradio.com or at Wisdom Talk Radio on Facebook.